What's up guys, today we're going to take a look at the G.I. Joe Classified Series, Cobra Island exclusive, Alvin Breaker Kibbey with Ram Cycle. I got this from my local collector store Robo, so shout out to them for hooking me up with this set so early. So let's have a quick look at the box. At the top, you see the G.I. Joe Classified Series logo as well as the number 29. And onto the bottom, some product information. And down the front of the box you see the artwork of Breaker sliding into action on the Ram Cycle, and this artwork kind of fades down the side, and on the side you see another artwork of Breaker roaring to battle, that artwork kind of extending nicely onto the front as well. Onto the back there's an aerial view of Cobra Island, zooming into 3 locations. And just a quick comparison of the box art for the Viper. There's now an additional 3rd location being zoomed in over here. And down to the other side, a couple of symbols over here showing Breaker's expertise in communications, data and encryption, and the same number 29. So let's go ahead and get him open. And now that we have the figure and the bike out of the way, there's a cool blue artwork in the backdrop and a special one-off stylized logo. And on the plastic tray we see the figure over here with the helmet, the Ram Cycle, sidecar, and a big Gatling gun. First up is a closer look at the gigantic Gatling gun. It's cast entirely in a black plastic. Starting at the end of it, there's a grip and a trigger mechanism over here. Some nice details on the top as well as down to the sides and the bottom. Cool looking piston looking thing over here, as well as some sculpting over here to show the coils. And closer to the middle of the drum, we have the supporting handle over here. Down to the barrel, it's made up of 6 tubes, and it's got a nice spinning action feature that you can turn by yourself. Moving on to the other side, there are less details over here, but it's a nice smooth barrel sculpt anyway. And of course Breaker can hold this oversized Gatling gun well in his 2 hands. Or you can also hand the Gatling gun to a bigger sized Joe like Roadblock, and it looks really good in his hands. Next up, Breaker also comes with a helmet. This helmet's cast in an army green plastic. There's a headpiece sculpted on top of the helmet on the front. Moving up to the top, there's a couple of scratches, as well as panel lines being sculpted in. The angular visor over here is painted with a mix of purple and green, and this gives it a nice polarized lens effect. On the right side, there's a military comms device, a very sleek antenna design, a big tech-looking earpiece, as well as a mouthpiece that extends to the front. And this whole comms device goes all the way down to the back as well. It's all painted in black. The blocky design over here on the back resembles a battery pack. And onto the left side, it's also still painted in black. Instead of a earpiece over here, we have what looks like a recording device, looking like it records picture and video and sends it back to HQ. And that helmet fits really nicely onto Breaker's head. The little notch over here in the visor sits snugly on top of his nose. And I really like the tech on display with this helmet, making Breaker look like he get us some serious intel. And messing around with that helmet, I actually realized that it fits on Roadblock perfectly as well. Moving on to the sidecar, it's sculpted with a couple of details over here, some looking like access panels, while this side actually looks like a sort of radiator. This sidecar is cast in an army green as well, while the wheel is cast in a grey plastic. And onto the inside of the sidecar, we see the same details over here, with 2 pegs that attach to the Ram Cycle. Moving to the top, again some more interesting details sculpted in as well, some vents over here, and the only paint applications over here are white for USA, and some red and white over here for the number 36. The sidecar does split open. And on the inside there's also sculpting as well. That sculpting gives the inside the metallic non-slip surface. The Gatling gun does fit on the inside of the sidecar, and you can close it up, with the barrel of the Gatling gun sticking out from the front. And on the top, we also see some bits of the Gatling gun sticking out as well. And now onto the Ram Cycle. The main parts of the body are casted in an army green plastic. Some nice paint applications over here, red for the number 36, blue for a tower logo, and then some white paint detail over here as well. There's an American flag painted here. It's given some rough edges to look like it's worn out. A metallic gunmetal looking paint over here for the grills on the back. There's cool panel sculpting details all the way down the body, even little details like rivets and screws over here. That same metallic paint over here, as well as some black paint to bring out all the details in the engine area. And there's a really powerful looking exhaust over here, and this is cast in an entirely black plastic. There's even cool detail over here to show the heat shielding, and some more cool metallic detail down the back that goes to the rear wheel. There's also a kickstand at the bottom, and that works. You can fold it up as well as fold it down for your display purposes. The 2 wheels are huge and the same size, looking ready for some off-road action. The main part of the wheel is cast in a grey plastic. Some nice detail over here for the spokes in the wheel, as well as the brake disc. The tire is a cool separate piece. That's actually a black rubber. So as you can see over here, it kind of comes off the rim of the wheel. So this is a really nice touch from Hasbro. And on the front part just above the wheel, cool painted detail over here to show the spring suspension. On the front of the bike, the silver paint over here for the headlight, as well as a dark translucent plastic over here for the canopy. Again, I really like the angular design on the front of the bike. Makes it look like it has a futuristic design. We see more of the same details and paint on the other side of the bike. This time over here, instead of an American flag, there's black paint for a wrench symbol. And some more white paint detail over here. And that says instrument cover. Moving down to the back. This is a really interesting touch from Hasbro. So the tail light is actually a transparent plastic. The red paint is actually applied on the inside below this piece of plastic. So on closer look, it really does resemble how a real taillight looks, with the front transparent portion catching the light and the red coming through from behind. On the top of the bike, we see there's black paint over here for the seat detail, as well as red and black paint over here to show the speedometer as well as the odometer. The handles are cast in a black plastic, with cool detail for the grip as well as the brakes. And these two handles are actually articulated on ball joints, so they do rotate, and you can also angle them as you prefer. And lastly, this handlebar actually works to steer the bike, so that is really cool as well. You can attach the sidecar to the ram cycle over here, like so. And this is what the ram cycle looks fully assembled with Breaker riding on top. Breaker rides just fine on top, fitting his hands to the grips over here, as well as pegging his foot into that peg hole at the bottom. So overall, the bike looks really good and scales really well with the G.I. Joe figures. In terms of size, the ram cycle is about 7 3/4 inches from the front wheel to the rear wheel, and that's about 19.5 centimeters. And to the top of the canopy is just under 4.5 inches, or just under 11.5 centimeters. For some size comparisons, the ram cycle also looks good with a larger figure like Roadblock, and it definitely looks more in scale with G.I. Joe figures compared to the Maisto 112 bikes that you can probably only fudge with smaller characters like Scarlet. And of course, the ram cycle also scales well with the Marvel Legends bikes from Hasbro. Plus, throwing on that helmet that really fits him so well, really feels like this box set could be also made for Roadblock. In terms of sculpt, Breaker is mostly reused, except for his head sculpt, vest, and boots. These are all new parts. His torso is reused from Beachhead/Firefly. His arms are from Duke/Flint, and his legs above the boot are from the Wave 1 Snake Eyes or the Red Ninja. Breaker has got a nice head sculpt. He's got really thick brown hair that's combed backwards, really neatly. Also a full-on manly beard on his front. Very sharply applied paint applications for all the hair on his head as well as his face. Also very sharply applied paint applications for his eyebrows, his brown eyes, as well as his lips. Quite impressed with the paint applications on his hair because it doesn't get out onto his ears as well. So it turns out really looking neat all over the head. He's got a small ribbed collar over here, and the rest of his torso is cast in an army green plastic. His vest is a new sculpt. It's a rather thick and rigid piece of plastic. Nice detail over here to show the straps. And because it's so thick, it probably means that he's wearing quite a bit of body armor on him. And he also has some big pouches down the front of his abdomen, probably filled with ammunition as well as equipment. The straps down the sides also have nice detail. They're painted in black, with small pockets near the top close to his shoulders. On the side is the same sleeved arm that we've seen on Duke, which means flesh tone paint over here for the forearm. His hands are just a plain black plastic, meant to look like gloves. And he's got an elbow pad over here painted in black. Moving down the back of his torso, the straps continue from the front all the way down to the back into a sort of belt strap, and this is all also painted in black. Interesting use of different textures over here. So the base material of the vest looks kind of like a mesh that's breathable, and then it's layered on top with another layer that's sculpted to look like leather. And there's some more detail over here for straps on the vest just below his arms. On the rest of his legs, they're cast in an army green, black paint for the knee pads. His newly sculpted boots are a nice detour from the usual shin armor that we see on the Joes. So over here there's really nice intricate detail for all the laces, and on the sides moving on to the back, it's also sculpted with this leather texture, making it look like a really rugged military boot. On the back of the boot we also see a strap, and down to the foot itself, it's also got the same laces and leather texture, with some more sculpting just to show the grip on the sole. In terms of articulation, he's got a ball hinge at the top of his neck as well as a second ball joint at the bottom of his neck. So he's got a little bit of tilt right as well as left, able to look down a fair bit, and that's hindered a bit by his beard, and looking up very well. The head also goes 360. He's got a butterfly joint at the shoulders, so he goes forward just a little bit as well as backwards. Swivel hinge at the bicep that goes all the way around as well as out that far. Upper bicep swivel that goes 360. Double jointed elbows. Very good range, beyond 90 degrees. Swivel hinge at the wrist that goes 360 as well as going up and down. He's also got a swivel hinge at the right wrist that goes 360 as well as articulating in and out. He's got a mid-torso ab crunch as well as ball joint at the waist, but because of the rigidity in the vest, he's not able to crunch forward or backward much. Most of the forward or backward motion is using that ball joint in his waist. So very little forward and backward. He does go 360, drop down ball joints at the waist, allowing you to do the splits that far, as well as going forward and backwards pretty well. Upper thigh swivel for 360, double jointed knees, very good range. Calf swivel for 360, ankle tilt upwards quite a fair bit, as well as downwards, and a very generous ankle pivot outwards, as well as inwards. So his articulation scheme is pretty much G.I. Joe standard. The only downside is the rigid vest that stops his ab crunch from being so useful, but you should be able to get him into most different poses. Size-wise, he stands at just under 6 1/4 inches or 16 centimeters. Here he is with Roadblock, Scarlet, and Flint, Cobra Commander, Cobra Trooper, and Zartan, Commando, Snake Eyes, and Timber, Articulated Icons Ninjas, some Marvel Legends, and Star Wars Black Series. On to my final thoughts. There are enough positives here for me to recommend this set. Breaker could have used some more accessories like a pistol and a military radio backpack. Instead, he's mostly green and feels a bit vanilla, but that is saved by his detailed head sculpt and kick-ass helmet. The ram cycle has really nice details in the engine, the taillight, and large rugged wheels to make this stand out as an all-action military bike on your shelf. And the icing on the cake is the sidecar with the huge Gatling gun that makes the entire package so badass. Please like and share this video, let me know what you think in the comments below, and subscribe to my channel for more toy reviews. Thanks for watching, take care and stay safe.